Victor. How's everyone doing today? We are extremely excited to have you join us this morning.
Yeah.
Well, it's morning here on the East Coast. We're broadcasting live from Washington, D.C., and we are at Listen Vision Studios across from the prestigious Howard University. I love this city.
It's a great
Don't
city.
you?
It's a great city. Lots of stuff to see. Lots of great people too.
Yes, indeed. However, we do want to acknowledge all of our viewers all over the world who are tuning in. I was just looking at the list yesterday, and it was amazing to just see the variety of countries that are tuning in. Let me see if I can name some. Peru, Cyprus, I think it was. Philippines, Netherlands.
All right.
Yeah, shout out to you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for tuning in.
Thank
and
you.
yes, we trust that you are gleaning nuggets from our conversations each week. We also want to say hello to everyone on Facebook that are joining us on the live stream for the interactive portion of our conversation. When you join via Facebook, you can participate in the conversation and join by the comments, sharing in the comment stream. We also have viewers who may be on different platforms, maybe not just Facebook. So we also have a Twitter chat that you can participate in using the hashtag CLB Live Chat. If you're on other platforms, you can feel free to use that same hashtag, and we'll be sure to include you in the convo.
No doubt.
Yeah?
Now I'm gonna tell you. It looks like they have a new light on the camera.
Yes.
Looks like it has a nice halo around it. And when I look back to my Facebook Live,
I'm blind.
I still have that beautiful halo.
Yes. I'm blind.
So anyone coming in on Facebook, your picture is looking angelic.
I have like a black spot in the middle of my line of sight.
Yeah.
So
And by angelic, I mean I see the halo and I can't see who you are, and I can't really read super well. So just wanted to get that out there.
if this is your first time joining CLV Live, we'd like to welcome you as well. We appreciate you tuning in. If you don't know, the show is inspired conversations with creative thinkers, and that includes you. We all have the creative ability. Some may be as not as active as others, and that's the point of this show. The goal of the show, or the intention, I should say, is to stimulate creative thinking so that we can literally shape our lives the way that we were designed to live it, the way that we desire to live our lives. Don't you want to live like that, Dr. Manny?
No doubt.
For sure, for sure. So that's what the goal and the intention of the show is, to get rid of those stinking thinking, those limiting beliefs, and tap deeper into creative thought. And today I'm extremely excited for the conversation, if I can see it. Today we're talking about hashtag I believe, the power of core value alignment.
Yes.
Yes, this is what Dr. Manny and I had in common when we first met several years ago. Is it 4 years now?
Yeah. That was I was working on a part of my program called Core Value Alignment, and Stephanie Sims introduced us when she introduced me to Roy. You were there that episode of his show a few years ago. Has it been 4
Yes.
years?
This year makes it 4 years.
Wow, time flies.
I can't believe it. I can't believe that. But believe it, honey.
Wow.
Hashtag I believe.
I believe. Now, I want to jump in at the belief level, or do you want to jump in at the quote level? Because I know you like to start with a quote.
I like to start with the quote.
Do it.
Yeah?
I'm adjusting the structure. I'm learning to value structure. Go ahead.
We'll start with the selfie quote. That's not the selfie quote. It's a notable quotable. It says, "Your core values are the deeply held beliefs that authentically describe your soul." And that's John C. Maxwell. I like to use the notable quotables because it sets the framework for the conversation. And for me, it defines what we're really talking about.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So jump into it, Dr. Manny.
Yeah, what's important in Maxwell's quote, it's really neat. I was actually watching on YouTube one of his videos about just getting a deeper idea of how he thinks like. Because before we jump into a topic, I like to think about the experts. Now, the key thing he points out is that your core values are part of your belief system. So if you're in a situation, when they say believe in yourself, what they really mean, if you look at it geek-wise empirically, is it means activate your core values. Because a lot of times when we're scared, all the blood goes to a different part of our brain. All the circulation goes to our amygdala, our fight, flight. But when you believe in yourself, that's the courage. They call it the courage of your convictions. Okay, so that's why we went with the belief theme. What's important about values as opposed to other things you believe in is that they're tightly emotionally bound. When someone has values that are contrary to yours and they're pushing them, you feel that.
Agreed. Agreed. So today we're going to dive into personal core values because I know for a lot of companies, especially in today's world, you hear about their values. For example, the company I used to be partnered with, they had 5 core values: vision, integrity, opportunity, freedom, and success. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of companies use values to guide the culture of the business and to help grow that business and guide the methodologies that they use to grow that business. However, when it comes to our individualness, that's a new word. It
is now. Yeah.
We can create new words, right? When it comes to our individualness or individuality, I agree with you. It's very important to identify our beliefs, our core beliefs or our core values, and use those to guide and shape how we create this life that we're designed to live.
Yep, yep. Now, when you're stressed or overwhelmed, one of the first things that determines your level of success and your sense of agency, your sense of control in a situation, is your ability in your brain to, they call it self-regulate. It's the ability to think yourself out of that fight-flight phase. And the way you do that is by bringing your values to mind and making a choice in the situation that is a value-based choice as opposed to what they call a reactive choice in the situation. And a lot of times they say when you act in alignment with your values, you're creating, because what you're bringing into being in the world is a little bit of you. The event that happens is an expression of what you valued because you put forth the energy to create that event, which everyone else experienced.
Yeah. We got to bump fists early in this game.
I'm gonna ring a bell.
Ding. I love that you said that because I was just thinking that when you base your actions on your core values, that's the power of creation. You're actually creating your circumstance as opposed to being reactive, as you said. I love that.
Yeah. Now, I want to point out real quick that we're digging in today. So if you guys are jumping in on Facebook and you're going to stick around for the show, and I hope you are, then grab your pencil, your crayon, your marker, and get a sheet of paper or the back of something that no one will notice, because we're gonna step through core values today, and the ones we're doing, spoiler alert, are universal core values.
Yeah, that's
fine.
fine.
They're called Schwartz core values, and we'll be having them up later to discuss. But what's important about them is when you hear them, you'll be like, well, hold up, it's just 10. There are a lot of values, but the way your brain holds information, it kind of stacks them. And so there are 10 universal values. They went around the world and they found that other values are related to these. And by evoking in your mind these 10 values, we're able to, and by prioritizing them, maybe later on you'll be like, I want to change one of these. But the exercise today, on the other side of this, you'll have your values in a prioritized list. And if you choose to take that with you, if you're willing to absorb that information, then going forward, you can use that as a tool to make your decisions.
Yes, yes. And this is a learning process for myself as well. My 2 core values, I stated in my, introduction or bio. Someone help me with a word there. I don't like the word bio.
In your story.
In my story. There you go. I share my core values always, which are absolute faith and the golden rule. So I'm very interested in seeing how I fall on this wheel.
Yeah.
So before we dive into that, I want to acknowledge some of the conversation that's happening on Facebook Live and acknowledge some of the viewers. So on this side, I noticed I saw Gemma. Hi, Gemma, from Trinidad in the house, and Roy Montero out of Cali. I saw some folks over on your side.
Oh, yeah. My buddy Devon showed up.
Hey, Devon.
Dell showed up. Pamela is here. And Dr. Jamila Battle is here.
Awesome.
And, Dr. Jamila says...
she's your number 1 fan.
Yeah, man.
I love it. I love it.
Can you borrow my words? Of course you can. I mean, Jamila and I, Dr. Battle and I, we talk offline. So a lot of times I'll tell her if an idea is good and you forgot where you got it from. It's yours now.
I know that's. It's called
There
borrowed.
are lawyers. Yeah, there are lawyers that will come for that. But great. What is it? Good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Ugh, I don't like that quote, but yes.
And then the artist next to me is like, really?
Yeah, I don't like that quote. I just want to share what Roy shared here to contribute to our convo. He says, you cannot behave apart from what you believe. Therefore, when you see a person's behavior, you'll know exactly what they believe. Very wise and very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our beliefs drive our behavior. So let's give them a peek at this wheel. We're going to look at the first 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike, can we pull up the first 5? Let's turn this around so folks on the Facebook may be able to see that.
Hopefully you guys can see
So
this.
this is
If
the
not,
wheel. Go ahead.
Yeah, for anyone joining us by Facebook, once again, if you can't see when I'm turning my phone, then go to WLVSradio.com.
Yes, WLVS Radio. And if you're on CLB Live TV, then we have the images posted there. So this is Short's theory of basic human values. As you can see, it's circular, and there are 10, correct, Dr. Manny?
Yes, ma'am. There are 10 universal values according to Schwartz. Now, before we go into the individual values, I want to point out that the way Schwartz set this up, it has an emotional undertone because we're talking about emotions. So when you go around the edge of the circle, really there are 4 big groups. And these are sort of the drives that we have inside that we don't necessarily talk about and might not have fully in consciousness. So the benefit of talking about them and listing them and prioritizing them is that you bring them into consciousness. This is how you make yourself more aware of them. They become more accessible and they become more a part of your strength. So I want to point out that beyond looking at the 10 that are listed, subconsciously, we break them up into kind of 2 axes, okay? You have self-transcendence and self-enhancement. Self-enhancement is when, was that?
I was just showing you can see it there, too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like without my glasses. Should be cloudy. Get feedback.
I hear voices.
Oh, he put us on the inset.
Cute.
Oh, nice.
We are in fantasy land for sure. Okay, go ahead, Dr.
Go ahead, Dr.
So when you're looking at it, you have self-transcendence and self-enhancement. They're on opposite ends of each other. And that's a reminder that self-enhancement is when you're about, these are values that involve making you feel more like yourself, more valuable to the group, more valuable to the people that you rely on for your definition of yourself. And remember, the word value is close to the word validate. So self-enhancement involves a lot of searching for validation of who you are. Self-transcendence, however, which is at the opposite end of the curve, of the circle, involves group values. It's about a more unified, what to do to bring to
We can take the inset off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the other axis is going to be openness to change versus conservation. Not conversation, but conservation. And this is how much you welcome new information into your life and how much you like things to remain as they are. So around the curve, things that are on the self-enhancement side, if your values tend to be and I use top 5. If your top 5 tend to be on the self-enhancement side, chances are people who live on the self-transcendence side, they kind of feel like you're a bad guy in your life. When they show up in the place, while you're doing self-enhancement stuff, they're talking about giving away the goodies. And you're like, nah, we need this enhancement over here. So that's sort of how it plays into the emotions.
So for me to wrap my head around it, because I'm learning this too, is so someone on the self-transcendent side, which is kind of where I see myself, will see someone on the self-enhancement side as probably aggressive or self-absorbed maybe. They'll be perceiving them that way.
Yeah, because what they'll notice that whereas they'll turn compliments, accolades, and just the whole good feeling, someone in self-transcendence will continue to enhance that feeling by moving the group forward, moving the group objectives forward by participating in communal things. Meanwhile, the person who is an individual who has a high need for self-enhancement, they're like, what are you doing? I mean, give me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I'm going to allow you to continue. I have questions.
Okay. I want to put in one thing. These are value judgments.
Right.
As such,
Judgy wudgy.
you're going to feel some kind of way listening to these. And that's sort of, at first pass, we're going to be reading off the definition of each one. What I want you to do, and what I'd like you to do, is to pay attention to how you feel when you hear each one. The ones where you're like, those ain't yours.
Okay.
Those ain't your values. Okay?
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna read the definition of each one, relax into it and experience it, and imagine that to someone this causes as good a feeling as the ones that you identify with. Okay?
Okay.
So
So we want to start. Do you want
Yeah.
me to read these?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the first one that falls under self-transcendence is universalism, understanding, appreciation, tolerance, and protection for the welfare of all people and for nature. If that doesn't sound like me. Okay. And then there's benevolence, preservation, and enhancement of the welfare of people with whom one is in frequent personal contact. You want me to go through all five on this side?
Sure. Let's roll.
Okay, tradition. Now, this is coming under conservation. So, tradition is respect, commitment, and acceptance of the customs and ideas that traditions, culture, or religion provide the self. Conformity. That's not me. Restraint of actions, inclinations, and impulses likely to upset or harm others and violate social expectations or norms. I want to talk about that a little bit. And then security, safety, harmony, and stability of society, of relationships, and of self. So these five fall under self-transcendence and conservation.
Yep. So they're on that end of the circle.
Okay.
Yep. As a reminder, on the opposite side of the circle are values that feel like what's the word I'm looking for? Your adversary. Your that's your bad guy. People who hold close to those values, usually they'll gravitate towards groups that are pursuing different objectives than the groups pursuing objectives aligned with you.
Interesting. Right, because we're talking about core value alignment.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
just the core values. Okay. So my question here on conformity, that one stood out for me because that is a word that I don't like. And it says restraint of actions. Oh, restraint of. Okay, I'm with it now. So it's someone who's holding back from being a nonconformist, basically. Is that right?
Well, the easiest way to feel these is when you don't like it, you flip it. What's the other one? What's the opposite of conforming? It's self-expression.
Okay.
So the power of these is that they're even hard to process sometimes because when you don't like something, you don't really want it in your brain.
That's what's happening
You know,
to me.
you be like, oh, that's even a word? Why would someone even want that word? I mean, there's that word. Why don't we say not that word? You know, it's more pleasant in your brain to say not self-expressive than it is to say conformity because there's a tightness when, in my case, because one of my lead values is self-expression. I'm going to tell it.
Amen.
I'm going to tell it thoroughly so
Always.
you experience it. So go ahead and I guess go on the other side.
Let's go to the other side of the
Yeah.
wheel and then we can break these all down.
Yeah.
So on the other side of the wheel, continuing with self-enhancement, we have power, social status and prestige, control or dominance over people and resources, achievement, personal success through demonstrating competence according to social standards, hedonism, pleasure and sensuous gratification for oneself, stimulation. This is now under openness to change, right? Stimulation, excitement, novelty, and challenge in life. And self-direction, which is independent thought and action, choosing, creating, exploring. Ooh, me likey. I likey that one.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, self-direction. I think, did I say self-expression?
Yeah, it
think I
says
said earlier.
self-direction.
Yeah, so self-direction.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm still like expressive with mine. So that's an example of earlier I mentioned that you might hear one of these and you're like, I like it, but I want to adjust it a bit. So I tend to remember self-direction as self-expression.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to do it and then I'm going to tell you. Like, you know how to say, I can show you better than I can tell you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to do it and be like, oh, look.
I love it.
You know?
I love it.
So one thing I think would be helpful, I want to review again. What we're going to do is we're going to pick 5 out of these 10 out of these clusters. And should we go ahead and start listing them now? Have people start listing theirs?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first part of the exercise is to grab 5 that appeal to you in this set. Okay. So we're going to read all 10 again without the definitions, just to jog your memory. And when you hear them, you're gonna feel a little something. So the 5 that are your favorite, if 5 could disappear from your mind, because your brain only holds 4 things at a time anyway. So grab 5 that you like and write those down right now as Christine is reading them.
Okay, ready? So universalism, benevolence, conformity and tradition, security, power, achievement, hedonism, stimulation, self-direction. Those are 10. Those are the 10.
Thank you. Okay. So
Let me turn this around.
because I'm used to working with students, we're going to read it again.
Absolutely.
We're going to do one more again.
Absolutely. So universalism, benevolence, tradition, conformity, security, power, achievement, hedonism, stimulation, self-direction. I got to write mine down. You said to choose 5, right?
Yeah. So we're going to choose 5 and forget the other 5. Okay.
I love this.
Now, if me saying forget the other 5 is freaking you out a bit, breathe it, get over it. Because the key thing is that if you don't bring these things to mind, that same uncomfortable forgetting feeling is what you're kind of walking around with in your brain as background noise. So notice that, but then forget 5.
Okay. I have my 5.
Cool. All right.
I'm having fun. This is fun. Okay.
You got your 5?
You all got your
All right,
5?
Facebook family, you got your 5? Drop 1.
Drop one.
Yeah. If 1 had to be forgotten and you're only holding 4, drop 1 of your 5.
Oh, I knew that would be dropped.
Okay? I'm going to give you a minute to work through your emotions.
Like me over here.
People acting like we leaving the kids at the pool. Like, but he can barely swim.
I gotta
Drop
drop
one.
one.
Drop 1.
Okay, Gemma says she has her 5 or 4. It should be
4.
4 now.
Yeah, Gemma, drop 1. Okay? You got your 4?
Yes.
Okay, so review your 4 to make sure that you're okay forgetting that 5th one. Okay? If you got to do some woosah, if you got to do some tapping, if you got to go walk a lap, if you got to do a breathing meditation, do a short one. You got your 4? Drop 1. If 1 had to be forgotten, erased from the earth, never to be spoken about again.
So we're whittling it down to 3 now.
You've got 3 now.
Man. That's hard. This is harder than I thought it would be.
Yep. Now, let me add one little instruction. Number that one, number 4, the one that you drop, but no, it's dropped because we're only talking about 3.
Okay.
Okay, we got 3?
Yep.
Y'all know where
I
it's
got
going,
my
right?
3.
Y'all know where
Gemma
it's
is
going.
3 now.
Gemma, you got 3. Can you guess what I'm going to tell you to do now?
Don't say drop one.
You want me to write it instead of say
No.
it?
Drop one.
Drop 1. You should have 2 now. Now, these 2, forget about the other 8. The one that you drop, put a number 3 next to it. But now I want you to hold on to those 2. These are your 2 highest priority values. Okay?
Interesting.
You should be down to 2. Mm-hmm. And then in your feelings. You should be in your feelings a little bit, because the higher up we go in priorities, the whole concept of forgetting your priorities, you be like, forget what? Because it's almost like forgetting a part of yourself. They call it being ego involved. It's part of your story. So, you know, I'm trying to give you a little time while I'm talking. You got 2, right?
Got 2.
Any questions? Facebook family, any questions? You should have 2 of your top values on your paper now.
I have them.
You have 2? Drop one. Like it's hot.
Oh.
So you should have your top priority, your top value now.
I love it.
Okay?
Got it. I think.
You got 1? That's your top value. Can you live with forgetting the other 9 if someone, the metaphor they like is if someone put a gun to your head? Of course, a lot of people be like, well, I don't want to talk about the violence. If things got really serious and you had to pick 1, look through the list now, all 10 that you have. Are you okay with that one being the one ahead of all the others? If you're uncomfortable with it and there's one that you dropped that you're angry about, hold on, let's see.
She needs the 10. So we need to reiterate for folks.
Yeah, we're going to run back through the 10.
Let's run back through the 10.
Okay.
And then run back through the process really quickly.
Yeah, I'm going to mess with people. So you know what you're missing out on when you're holding the 1. Okay? and this is, I'm joking about it, but it's important because core values, when they get clarified, the other stuff falls by the wayside. And that also happens in life.
Okay.
As you clarify your values, the distractions lose what they call salience. Things of lower value, when you recognize, oh, I noticed that thing because it applies to my hedonism value. I like fun things. But what's more important to me, that's when you pull your number 1 up.
Yeah.
And then you decide according to that.
Okay, let's let them get on the same page, right?
Okay.
So first, I'm going to list them 1 through 10, okay? Universalism, benevolence, tradition, conformity, security, power, achievement, hedonism, stimulation, self-direction. Those are the 10. And then what Dr. Manny wants us to do is select the 5 that appeal the most to us, where we don't feel that, when we hear the word or think of the emotion.
Yeah.
And then whittle those 5 down to 4, then down to 3, then down to 2. Then that will leave 1, which will be your number 1 priority when it comes to your values.
Yep. And that's your top value in the universal value, Schwartz universal value.
Okay.
What's important is also to notice your 2, 3, 4, 5. Your top 4 are the ones you're most likely to feel. Your top 4 are also the ones most likely to be competing, because you notice things in your environment based on your values, and you dismiss and sometimes have negative feelings about things that aren't in alignment with your values.
Yeah.
Where it gets tricky, well, let's find out what yours is.
Mine?
You didn't want to share yours?
Oh,
I'll tell
of course
mine.
I'll share. Of course
tell
I'll
mine.
share. I grow on this show publicly, so I'll share. However, I would like for everyone to get on the same page. Mm-hmm. While we're doing that, I would like to. It's already 11:30, so can we pause for our Divine Connection Spotlight?
No doubt.
This will give folks who are watching time to whittle their lists down if you're having a challenging time doing it. But, you just got to do it like ripping off a Band-Aid. Mm-hmm. Don't put too much thought into it.
Mm-hmm. What comes to mind first? That's what values do.
It's just go with your gut. And so we're going to share our Divine Connection Spotlight, and then we'll be back, and I will surely be the guinea pig for this. All right.
Dr. Jamelia is like, I know Manny's. Mm-hmm.
So do I. All right. So on today's Divine Connection Spotlight are 2 of my nearest and dearest, Jessica Duell of Red Direction and voice of Bold Business. Being a leader today is more challenging than ever before. You are in the right place to listen to a host of leaders discuss topics on various leadership problems, solutions, and so forth. Go to voiceofboldbusiness.com This is a new release by my brilliant mentor, Simon T. Bailey. He just released his book, Brilliant Living. It helps guide you experience the amazing effects and reap the untold rewards of living a brilliant life, including key areas of growth, spirituality, family, career, business, emotions, mentality, health, social life, and finances. You can grab your copy at Amazon.com. All righty. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Last we spoke, we were down to one value, one core value, and you also have your 2, 3, 4, 5 numbered off. Okay. So we should be there. Now, how is this useful? When it's time to make decisions, if you, in a tough decision, in a crisis, if you realize what value you're violating by succumbing to the crisis, then, for example, try to think of a quick example. So, well, let me explain it more deeply. That way the example will make more sense. You come to a branch point a lot of times and you have to choose something. You have to choose right now.
Okay.
It's usually either very threatening or very tempting. You know, it's and then you have to make a decision. Do you want to resist the temptation? It's, you know, it's right there looking delicious. Or do you want to get up out of there in fight flight mode? You know, get out of there because it's that scary and it's not worth the battle. You got to choose your battles, focus your energy and your attention. What's important is to realize that at other times, you're also going to be choosing between two things that you want both of, but you have to prioritize your values. In the morning, when you're planning your day, you want to look at which of the things on your to-do list is a vector, is what they call it, embodies one of your values. And the ones that are higher in value, the phrase they use in the time management is it's more important. Okay?
Right, it's your priority.
Yeah, it's a priority. It's more important. And it's important to, it's helpful to define the important as more aligned with your values and as such likely to move your higher priority goals, the goals that also have the highest value, forward.
Yeah.
As opposed to urgent. As you guys know, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
I love that matrix.
Has the 4 quadrants.
The urgency
important and
matrix.
urgent.
Yes,
Yeah.
honey.
So this importance moves your goal forward. Urgent eases the pain, eases the feeling of discomfort with someone all up in your space.
Yeah.
So did you tell us yours?
Not yet.
Okay.
So you want my number 1?
Yeah, man.
Self-direction. You knew that, right?
I had a feeling.
Yeah. I didn't know it was going to end up being that.
Yeah, no, that's my number 1. My number 1 is self-direction.
Is it really?
You didn't know that? I'll be like, if you're stopping me to do something from doing something, it's precisely what I'm going to do.
Amen to that. I'm always marching to the beat of my own drum.
Yeah.
Gots to.
Yeah.
And I love that this definition here, independent thought and action, choosing, creating, exploring.
Mischievous, hard-headed, troublemaker, disruptive.
That's looking at it negatively.
Those are all words that tell you that somebody is on the opposite side of the circle telling you about the feelings that are evoked by your self-direction.
Yeah, I have that a lot.
Okay? So one of the key things is when you know your value, essentially knowing your self-worth, your worth according to your measurement system, according to your priorities, when you clarify that, you start to learn what words people use from the other side of the pond, other side of the circle to talk about your value.
Okay, so I want to jump into that because now we're talking about the alignment, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so can we share what some of the other folks who are participating in the conversation, what's your number 1? What did you whittle it down to? Please share with us. I see Dr. Battle says hers is the same as ours.
Yeah, man.
And she's very hard-headed. Yeah.
Me and Dr. Jamila, we roll like that.
So Dr. Jamila is also self-direction. Yeah. How about on this side of the fence? What about you all? What's the number 1 from the 10 that you whittle down to so that we can share? So let's talk about this alignment with others, because this is where a disconnect happens for me personally with a lot of people, because I find that most people, this is my opinion now, but most people are falling into this conservation side, which is on the direct opposite of where I am, openness to change. Mm-hmm. Most people are not open to change. And so when they see someone who is doing their own thing, they react to it negatively.
Yeah, they have like a really visceral limbic response.
Yes.
Because
Like, why can't you be like everybody else?
yeah. Especially in a situation of scarcity, because a lot of people think what they call zero sum gain. If you're getting your values met, mine are being neglected. People who have it's correlated to self-esteem. So I'll just be straight up with
Okay.
it. The higher your self-esteem, the better you feel about your values.
Yeah.
And the path through there is self-acceptance and developing that clarity. Okay? Now,
Self-acceptance, yes. Mm-hmm.
when someone talks about your self model, there are two parts. There are your values and there are your strengths. Okay? You pick your career, you pick your path, you pick the things that you prefer according to your values and your strengths. Your strengths are a result of your values because your values kind of set your preferences. You don't like being around people who don't share your values because it just seems like they're doing something wrong, and you feel inauthentic a bit traveling with a group that is going against your values because really you don't want to be going that way. You might be doing it like, say you see a group of people who you don't disagree with, that you don't agree with, but they're all successful according to society's measure. And so you take on some of those values thinking that it's going to get you success. And we call that an external locus of valuation, or external locus of control. You know, that's when you be like, I did it because I had to. Look what you made me do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just have to keep my eye on the time. So, so in my personal development training, specifically in interpersonal relations, we were taught, of course, to know what your dominant character traits, your values, and so forth were, and also how to become like a chameleon almost, where you could relate to different people. And I think the word that best captures it is understanding, is being understanding of different types of people and how they think, being more tolerant of different types of people, especially for me with these folks that fall in the conservation zone. I have to have a lot of tolerance to understand that there are some people who are traditionalists, who are conformists. I don't know how or why, but I'm learning as we go along here. I guess each person has value. Everyone has value.
Yep.
And it's no pun intended. I mean value in terms of their contribution to society. So now my question is, how do we develop a better understanding for people who are on different sides of the spectrum? And how are we being intentional with choosing who's in our inner circle, as Roy always says, when it comes to building and creating the life that we desire?
Okay. The first thing to note is that your core values, although they're bedrock, when you're in fight, flight, or when you're under stress, your brain chemistry changes. And part of what happens as a result of that is you experience your values differently. Your values might change when it's time to live. You know, suddenly you find yourself.
So true.
You know, you find yourself liking people you didn't even like because it's just the two of y'all in this battle, you know?
Yeah.
So one of the key elements is that, and this is where empathy versus sympathy comes into play. You know, it's okay. Empathy is understanding someone's perspective, their values, and how they see a situation. It doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with them, which is sympathy. Sympathy is like, I'm all up in it with you. You know,
I know how you feel.
Yeah. Sympathy, I'm madder than you are, and therefore I'm the last person to try to help you out of the situation because we in this soup together, so to speak. Okay? So with that difference, with empathy, what you're able to do is you're able to step into that person's perspective, jump into the bigger picture, which means out of both of your perspectives, and see the value and importance of each person's perspective to the bigger picture, to the completion of the goal of the group. Okay? Because if everybody was about hedonism, then it'd be chaos. It'd be fun for a brief minute, but then there'd be chaos.
Yeah.
Okay? I had a joke, but I won't even share it with you.
Yeah.
I was like, a minute or two.
Yeah.
But so it's important to understand that the diversity of value, we all are on a continuum. When you think of these opposite things, know that you're not all the way at one side with any one of these values. You're somewhere between that value and the opposite. You're just closer to the one that you feel more viscerally.
Nice. Want to acknowledge we have folks contributing to our convo, which is what I live for. Gemma says values is vital. Love that.
Yeah.
And we have someone chiming in over here. I think the name is Noah.
Yeah, Noah says people of different cultures have different values. As a matter of fact, what you value most highly affects how you perform in an organization. When we talk about motivation, there are three elements to intrinsic motivation. The first one is autonomy, and one aspect of autonomy is value autonomy. Like the clarity and the right to choose your own values as opposed to having them forced on you by your community. Mm-hmm. The second one is competence, and that's what we're talking about, the strength aspect of yourself. It's knowing what you're good at and then handing off stuff and delegating stuff instead of doing a bad job. And the third one is relatedness. That's your sense of belonging to the group that has your values. So it's alignment. So when you have all three of those things, you feel energized in the situation, you feel motivated, you don't feel like you're being dragged kicking and screaming against what you really want as the end outcome.
Do you mind repeating the three again for me?
Mm-hmm. Three elements of intrinsic motivation are going to be autonomy. Mm-hmm. And in this case, what's important is it's value autonomy, as in the right to have your own preferences without guilting yourself.
Okay.
The second is competence. Competence comes from a result of repeatedly applying that autonomy to the point where you developed a strength in a very specific, narrow field. Okay? And the third element is relatedness. Okay. Relatedness is about the group that you're traveling with, the group of people that you're working with, also sharing that value, so that when you're doing what you do, not only is it validated, you actually get to see how it's contributing to the end outcome instead of somebody smacking your hand every time you touch something or pulling you back and eventually making you feel incompetent. Now, it's important to note they're not interchangeable. They're in a virtuous circle with each other.
Yes. And
in a virtuous circle with self-esteem. Because if your self-esteem starts bottoming out, then you go into self-enhancement. Okay? Because then it's time to take care of the core. That's a case of if self-esteem starts bottoming out, you feel stress. And that's the change to your brain chemistry that we talked about in geek terms earlier.
Oh, boy. This is a big topic.
Yeah.
It's a very big topic. And we have still about 10 minutes or so, which is good.
Yeah. So I want to jump into some of the mechanics.
Okay.
Every time you make a choice, it affects your self-esteem. Okay? Your self-worth, your perception of value. So you would imagine that someone who has some impulse control, they still made a choice. They just perceive the choice to have an external locus of control. They feel as if someone else is making them do the thing. Okay? And more, when you get in the habit of telling yourself the story of look what they made me do, you're giving away your power incrementally. You develop a habit of walking through life looking for who to blame for circumstances that should be within your personal responsibility. That destroys your self-esteem. When you destroy your self-esteem, it means that you have negative feelings about your own values. When you advocate for yourself, you don't feel good being assertive. You feel guilty. You feel like you're doing something wrong. Yeah. And then the last piece in how it affects group alignment is that just because you don't do something about it doesn't mean the negative feelings not building up. And eventually, instead of being assertive and expressing what you want, you end up exploding and being aggressive, which is definitely divisive to your group.
Yeah, so it leads me to think, because I'm thinking as you're speaking, I've been driven by my core values for many, many, many years. And everything that I think, say, do is in alignment with these values, which, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, are absolute faith and the golden rule, basically faith and love. If those two things are not a part of what I'm doing, then it's not me. So self-direction, of course, defines me to a T. So when I'm in that zone, personally, when I'm in the zone of being self-directed, I'm in the flow, it's love conscious, and I'm moving and operating in that manner, it's always a good feeling that's derived from that because it's an authentic power. It's authentic and true to who I am. I find that the self-esteem erodes when I try or attempt to not adopt someone else's values, but I try to sympathize because I'm an empath.
Yeah.
So if I get too far into the zone of, okay, let me put myself in your shoes and see, that's when I start to get the erosion of self-esteem, because then I feel like I start to question my own values. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And you want to look at them where when you're stuck at the very extreme of one of these values and you're not able to see the other point of view, and when you have a lot of negative emotions evoked by the opposite view, the reality of it is that the only person getting affected by the negative emotions is you. And even further, all these things exist in your imagination. This is your projection onto reality. It's your map of reality. So at some point, you want to make peace with those other values, because the only reason they feel negatively to you is that when you're activating them in your own mind, you're making your own immune system go crazy. You know, your cortisol is going up. You're stressing
Sure.
yourself out.
Sure.
It's all in your mind.
Isn't it?
You know,
Always.
so realize one example would be if someone were to compliment someone and say they were efficient. Now, someone with different values would show up and be like, well, you're lazy. Okay? It's the words, the connotation of the words is what tells you the value of the speaker. Okay? So the surface word, people who don't share the value, they'll be like, well, no, I just picked a word. They won't want to talk about the feelings behind it, because in their reality, your opposing value doesn't even show up on their radar. And when it does, it's kind of gross. Okay?
Yeah. So this is why it's so important to be intentional with who's in our circle. Who are we aligning ourselves with personally, professionally, in all aspects of our lives? That, for me, is the message that I'd like to get across today, is not only being clear about our personal values and adhering to those, but also being intentional with who we're allowing into our space.
Exactly. Because you don't see you. You see a reflection of you in the people you choose to trust.
Yeah. Ooh.
So if you choose to trust people who don't share your values, and even if, make it worse, even if you don't even trust them, you're just trying to get what they got. And so you quietly sitting there grinding your teeth while they're saying stuff you don't agree with. Here's what's going to happen. At some point, they're gonna complain about your attitude. They're going to complain about your inauthenticity. You're going to get you a nice dose of imposter syndrome.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of friction.
Yeah, because you're doing the things for the end as opposed to being authentically committed to the process. Okay? My example, quite simply, with mine being self-direction, during medical school, you know, self-direction has a lot of curiosity drive. And, you know, they say there's intellectual curiosity. They say have intellectual curiosity in medicine. That means be curious about what we're teaching you. That don't mean be curious about what's going on inside you and all that. And the self-direction is a drive to go inwards, find the things that you're passionate about, and express those things through rituals, acts, symbols, through creating things, through sublimating. But wasn't nobody trying to hear none of that. Like, not when I was trying to learn pharmacology and neurology. So one of the key things is, as you pick your jobs earlier in life, one of the things they should do is help you get some value clarity. As you transition jobs later in life, one of the first things you want to do is get value clarity. As you pick people to hang out with, or as you ask yourself why I'm having a conflict with someone, the first thing you want to do is get value clarity.
Look at how Mike just tagged me on the show. I love it. Well, he tagged us. That's for both of us.
Oh, good.
Let me show the crew. Yeah, it's so important. I love that you brought the job part of it into it, because even if you're just applying for a certain position with a certain company, there should be a value alignment there as well. Because if there's friction and a difference in beliefs, then that's not going to be a happy marriage. You're not going to be happy there. They're going to be, the method of operations will be completely against the way that you operate, and it will just be a nightmare.
You feel it. This is the concept of something being meaningless. You'll be
Yeah.
doing meaningless work. You're there for the paycheck.
And that's unhappiness to me.
Yeah. Because eventually, there's a sense of stress, because whereas people who are there because they're aligned with the values, the further along the journey they get to whatever goals the organization has, the more of themselves they feel like they're becoming. Whereas if you're just there for the check, or you're just there because you don't feel like you have a choice and you haven't explored other organizations and aren't aware of your values, then every step you take, you get stuff done, you cash your check, but your self-esteem is going downwards because you're contributing to a machine that is contributing against your values. You're working against yourself in a group.
Yeah. Amen to that. So we have just a couple of minutes left to wrap up with our call to action, our closing thoughts and calls to action, and then we'll close out with our usual announcements. So you're steering this car today.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I'm going to allow you to close out.
I want each of you to have your own closing thought today, and I want it to be that number one, because that's ideally, go through your day and go through your week until you tune in next week, which you will, right? go through your week and notice when you're having competing values, and how by noticing the value that you place into something like your car, your house, a particular friend, a particular restaurant, a way of doing something, a ritual. Notice how when that value is under attack, how you feel. Notice how when you're competing with them, how by choosing the thing that supports or carries your highest value, you feel as if you're more in control of your decisions and you're more unfolding into who you are. So your highest priority, your number one in the exercise we did at the beginning of the show, that's the thought I would like to leave you with for the week.
I love it. And I will do that the same. I'll take the homework as well. Next week, we can check in with each other and see where we are, because this conversation never ends. So my call to action is to apply Dr. Manny's call to action, and also to continue this conversation. This is an ongoing conversation, never ends to me and to us. So we invite you to join us over on Facebook at clblive.tv, so that you can continue to share with us about core value alignment, and vice versa. We can continue to share with you. We have a lot of things coming down the pike where we will be launching programs that will be inclusive of core values and more. So I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
Yeah. So next week we will be back same time, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here at WLVSradio.com. And you can join us for the replay of today's episode at clblive.tv. That will be posted on Monday, so that you can catch the replay. If you're watching via Facebook, you'll get to benefit from all the graphics and things that we shared, and revisit the conversation, because I sure know I need to. Do we have any other announcements, Dr. Manny?
No, ma'am.
No? This has been great. Thank you so much for your
welcome.
expertise on this. This was a fantastic topic. It's something that I hold near and dear to my heart. So I guess my call to action is be intentional. Be clear about your values, and be intentional with the people you're surrounding yourself with.
No doubt.
That is critical to our growth in this life. All right. So we're going to close out here. Love and light to you all. Be blessed. Have a great, positive weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Take care, everyone.